Welcome back to Connect the World. Now to neighbouring Ethiopia, where US President Barrack Obama has just landed. This is the second of two countries he's visiting in Africa. He just spent 3 days in Kenya. The White House says the president will try to balance regional security needs with human rights concerns during this trip. And those security needs have been highlighted by the latest terrorist attack in Somalia. CNN's Robyn Kriel is in the Ethiopian capital and joins us now. And Robyn, the US president has spoken extensively about the security threat in the region, namely Al-Shabaab. And we saw another bloody attack today in Somalia's capital, Mogadishu. What are the details?
We understand that at least 6 people, Lynda, were killed in this attack, an horrific attack on one of the most vibrant hotels in Mogadishu, where a number of expatriate Somalis, Somali Americans, Somali British, as well as diplomats, including the Chinese embassy has a base there, as well as members from other embassies are actually living at that hotel. So we're not sure of the identities of who was killed at this point, but a massive car bomb. In fact, one of the biggest explosions, someone told me, an eyewitness told me, that he'd ever heard in Mogadishu, rammed through the main gate of the Jazeera Palace Hotel, killing a number of people there and, of course, destroying all the surrounding buildings. The AU mission to Somalia, of course, which the United States gives an enormous amount of money to, and that's essentially why President Obama has been talking so much about regional security and the fight against terrorism and Al-Shabaab. The AU mission troops, they responded, they're evacuating the wounded currently and trying to make sure that everyone gets to safety, as well as keep people back just in case of more attacks.
And Robyn, security is also high on the agenda in Ethiopia for Mr. Obama's visit there, and it's one of the countries also contributing to troops to the African Union mission to Somalia, along with Kenya, of course. Is this a new level of security cooperation with the US? Have we seen this before?
The U.S. has been contributing in terms of finances and logistics, training and equipping to the AU mission for a while, Lynda. But what we're seeing now is increased airstrikes in the region. Ethiopia and Kenya, as well as Uganda, have gone on a new offensive. They're calling it Operation Juba Corridor, trying to get rid of essentially the remaining Al-Shabaab bases in southern Somalia. They've operated quite effectively, we understand. They also have had air support from Ethiopia and Kenya. They've gone in, they've managed to secure several large towns which were Shabaab strongholds for 7 years or more, including Dinsur, Barakaba and Bardere. We understand that the U.S. has been aiding them, not just with high-value target strikes that we've seen in the past, where the United States would identify a high-value Al-Shabaab target and then try to take him out, but with what the military is calling signature strikes, when they see a large amount of, say, Al-Shabaab militants and all the conditions are right for a strike of that nature, and then they hit them in support of the AU mission. So yes, this is new. This is almost unprecedented. We really weren't expecting this. I'm not sure entirely if this was just because of Barack Obama's visit to cause some kind of disruption on the ground to Al-Shabaab.
And the US president's visit to Ethiopia comes 2 months after the Prime Minister there took every seat in the parliamentary election, raising grave concerns of vote rigging. Can we expect Mr. Obama to address
Yes, Mr. Obama, President Obama, we understand from Susan Rice, who briefed the media before his visit out here, is not going to shy away from the topic of human rights and the need for freedom of speech and democracy here in Ethiopia. So he will undoubtedly touch on that. And Ethiopians, speaking to them, are excited for him to do so. They believe, or a number of them that we've spoken to believe, that this should be touched on. The president should not shy away from him. The speech that President Obama gave earlier today in Kenya, a number of Ethiopians were listening to that and said that they hoped that he would also come here with a similar message. He will be speaking to the Prime Minister as well as the President. He will also be sitting down with AU, African Union officials. The Ethiopia is home to the African Union, as well as delivering a speech at the African Union in terms of Pan-Africanism. It's the first time a US president has addressed the AU. It will be an historic visit. And again, as was the case in Kenya, he's not going to shy away from any controversy.
And we know that Ethiopia is Africa's second largest country, and it's experienced huge economic growth since the 1984 famine. Is trade and investment also going to be high on the agenda?
Extremely high. And reading through the Ethiopian newspapers earlier today, Lynda, you could see that they want this, government ministers, etc., want that trade and investment to only increase. They said at the moment they're doing a lot more trade, and not in terms of they're using a lot more American companies rather that are based here. Many more Chinese, Asian, and European companies are based here than American, and they would. There was talk of them wanting that to increase. Ethiopia is growing exponentially. It's rumored to become the fastest growing economy in Africa, 90 million people. So a trade and development through AGOA and various other organizations and agreements like this are expected to be on the table. It is very important to both Ethiopia and the United States for trade and development and the economy, of course, to be talked about and dealt with.
And of course, Ethiopia's neighbour, South Sudan, is still gripped by a civil war. Will that come up in discussions regarding regional security between the US President and the Ethiopian leader?
Definitely expected to come up. South Sudan has been since December 2013 in absolute tatters. Hundreds of thousands of refugees have been homed, have fled across the borders to here in Ethiopia as well as to Kenya. So it really is becoming a regional problem. And of course, the two warring parties have also been sitting at the negotiating table here in Ethiopia at the African Union. They've been given a draft agreement, and they've been told that within 10 days, Lynda, they need to agree to either the terms of the draft agreement or come to some kind of agreement on their own with the draft agreement as a framework. So the US visit highlighting and sending a strong message, talking to South Sudanese officials. They believe that the US is going to be talking very tough, as well as the AU and IGAD, which is the regional body here that has been trying to solve the South Sudanese crisis.
Great reporting there for us in Ethiopia. Robyn Kriel, thank you very much.